Hi, this is Mike Cuddy, and I'm here again to talk to you about my latest project, and it's called Murder Study. And I'll start by just talking a little bit about the README file and what this file project covers. And basically, it's another data set that I got from Kaggle, which you can get the link right here. And I've always been interested a little bit in true crime and murders and everything like that. It's just something when I was younger, I actually was thought about going into the FBI. And I guess part of it comes from being in the Marine Corps, where a lot of the people I worked with, especially at my reserve unit, were cops or worked some aspect in the police department. So they would talk to me a lot, but I had no really interest in actually being a police officer. I more was interested in being a detective and going to solve the murders until you find out that in order to become a detective, you have to start at the bottom as a police officer. So, anyways, that's that. And I've always had this interest in basically, like I said, murder mysteries and like whodunits and everything. So I found this data set on Kaggle, and I'll start by saying that when I first looked at it, I didn't actually look at the size of it, and here's the data right here. And as you can see, it starts in 2011, but the real data set starts in 1980. And if you look at how much data is in here, it's massive. The real data set was over 100 megs. So it was so large that I found out. I guess I forgot. I just didn't know that GitHub has a file limit. I kind of always thought that it did, and it kept on rejecting my first commit, and I couldn't understand why until I really looked at the note and paid attention to it. Yeah, that's a good point to pay attention to the error messages. And it was the size of the CSV file. So this is massive. So all I did is I basically started looking at data from 2011 to 2014. Going back to 1980 was just simply massive, and like I said, it just wouldn't fit. But I did make my graphs with the data from 1980, and I just never uploaded all that CSV data. So you'll see that as I demonstrate my project. So yeah, here's all the data, and I've already talked about that, but the technologies I'm using are like typical or Flask, Python, Pandas, NumPy. I used a little bit of React just because I want to keep my skills up to date on that. And so I used it basically on a login page. Yeah, I know it was way overkill. It was like using a nuclear bomb to nail in a nail, but I just use it to keep up my skills, and also use Mongo for my user authentication system. So that's all the main technology stack there. And I used, of course, npm and Bower to install all the dependencies and everything like that. So instructions here on how to do that. But yeah, that's basically it for this project, for this part of it. And now I guess I'll just kind of show it. So here's my homepage, a login form right here. And I kind of wanted to go for a dreary feel, kind of like down, because it's looking at murder, kind of a dark subject. And so, as my wife said, I guess I made it too dark. And you'll see as soon as I go in here. I mean, she did not like this wolf right here. She thought like this skinny, decrepit-looking wolf, so she got her kind of angry. But yeah, here's my homepage, and we can look at murder by year, by state in year, by sex, and look at graphs. So if I click by year, just brings me down here, and this is where I use some Ajax right here to make a call. So let's say if I look at 2011, there are 14,000 murders that year. If I want to look at 2013, let's say, 14,445. So for actually these years, 2011 to 2014, it's all basically around 14 to 15,000 murders. So then we can come down here and look at murders by state. So if I type in New Hampshire, where I grew up, there are 71 murders in the state you entered. So that's from, again, 2011 to 2014. By state and year, so I can look at a specific state and a year. And then murders by sex. So if I want to look at, like, let's say female on male, 2,850 murders were committed by females on males. So that's that right there. So I have this kind of like layout with the data on this side and just a picture right here, just a very simple layout. And I think before, when just a quick comment about web design, before when I first started to make websites, I would overload the site with a ton of data and just words everywhere, and I think that, to me, I just never liked how it looked, and it almost appears that it's very like 1990-ish, like late 90s, early 2000s, and it's more like just simple, not a lot of graphics on the screen to really appeal to you. So that's it for this page, and now let's go over the graphs. And here I'm using the data from 1980. So as we can see here, It goes all the way from 1980 to 2014, and as you can see, the trend is basically downwards except for this one big hill. But what's interesting is right here in about 1993-94, it starts going down. And I mean, there's probably a lot of explanations for this. I know that in 1994, when the Republicans came into Congress working with Bill Clinton, they made those really tough crime laws, which some of them are almost ridiculous. I know what a lot of them were like 3 strikes and you're out. Out in California, I believe, had that. I don't know. I don't believe it was on the federal level, but just very tough sentencing that actually Jeff Sessions is bringing back. That would be down over here if it continued. So I mean, there's many other explanations as well. I mean, the economy was doing really, really well at this point, so it completely just dropped, and it went back up kind of during the Bush administration. It went back down in the last, well, during the start of the Obama administration, and just going to the last level that we have is it's kind of the lowest it's ever been for the most part. So, yeah, that's murders by year, and then we can go murders by min. It's a very similar graph. But then let's look at women. And women, this is really surprising. It's something that if I could look further into this data, is try to correlate why this is just going down. I mean, there's a very obvious downward trend for women committing murders. So something's going on with women that's really bringing it down. And I would argue it may be education is probably the biggest factor in that. So maybe look at college degrees and over this course of the time and see how it's come down. So that's that. And I would say, going back to the homepage, there's so much more I could look at in this data if I have the data file up. I mean, look at all this information you can have. It just is incredible how much information you can get from this file. And I could have done so much more with it. I didn't want to overload my pages with information. I just wanted to stick to some bare necessities. And my main goal with these sites is to get work on my programming skills, not necessarily do a full-blown data science project. So I basically focus on just some cute few things that interest me in all my data science projects, and just put it up on the screen for the user to see. And I will say, going back to if people make a comment about like React, the reason why I didn't use it is I don't really know yet how to use React and Ajax together. I actually reached out to someone on GitHub, and they said that I'd have to use Redux and Ajax. And this was a comment I made on my war projects and my war devs project. What the previous project that I did or the one before that. And it's something it's one of my goals by the end of the summer to really be fully using everything together, React. So my whole sites will be, the front end would be completely built by React and everything else. And then the back end would be the MongoDB, or I'm going to start using MySQL as well. So, but that's my main thing, is why I don't use React throughout this whole project, but I still use it to kind of build, especially the sign-in page. So this is all built with React, with the components and everything. It's not that much. I know it's pretty simple, but as soon as I got in, I had to use React on that index on the home page in there. As soon as you log in, I could not use React there because I needed to use Ajax. So that's here's some. I just wanted to show some of the Ajax calls right here that I made. So it's all this jQuery. I found on the Flask site, it talks about how to do this, so it wasn't hard at all. I mean, it's the same function over and over again. And it was really easy to really learn how to do, and it helped build my confidence. So in my next project, which is going to be on UFOs, I'll be using this again, using Ajax to make it that the page never has to refresh. And of course, my main file looks like just almost every other main file. Like I said, once I built that user authentication system, I basically will use it in almost all my apps. It may slightly change because I may try going with MySQL and see how that works. But yeah, this is it right here. All my functions. A lot of these are just the functions for Ajax by state and year, just calling the information. I try to explain every single action that's going to every comment. So yeah, that's my project so far, and I guess that's it. Have a great day.